Hi, everyone. It is Meredith Liepelt today, and I hope you all have had a great weekend. We were planning on going live today, but unfortunately, Facebook was not working in my favor today. So Vicki was so gracious to record this call with me, and she will jump in later to answer any questions, respond to any comments that you may have, and things like that. So I am super excited to introduce Vicki to you today because I'll read her bio here in a second. But I'll tell you, I met Vicki recently. We're both in a group together, and Vicki made this fabulous comment to somebody else, to another member. And I thought, oh my gosh, this sounds amazing. I want to talk to her more. And then after talking to her, I realized that this information would be really great for everyone. So you'll see here what she's going to talk about in a minute, just helping us that as we go out there to make a name for ourselves, how to get super grounded in our energy so that we can come from a place of confidence, especially when, I know I work with a lot of people going on television or going on stages and all that kind of stuff. So really getting grounded in yourself and in your energy so that you can go out there and communicate with your audience. So let me read her short bio to you here. Vicki Dello Joio is a transformational speaker, life-changing workshop leader, and show-stopping theater performer whose brand of brilliance is motivating people to reclaim their birthright of joy. Host of the popular program Chi Talks, Vicki is the founder of A Way of Joy, a spiritual fitness program, and was inducted into the Ame Hall of Fame in 2013 for teaching the Chinese art of Qigong. She draws on her 45 years of experience, both in martial arts and theater as a performer and director, to fire up visionary speakers to amplify their charisma and deliver their message with passion, presence, and power. We want some of that. So Vicki, thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, it's a joy, Meredith. As I told you when we spoke, when I first met you in Nancy's group, I was just like, who's that person? And I want to get to know her. So this is serendipitous for me. I'm very pleased to be connecting with you here in your community.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing your time and your expertise. So tell us a little bit about how you got into this work, why you do what you do, and then we'll get into some nitty gritty of how we can like really get grounded. So where did you get started? How did you uncover like how to take your theater background and your martial arts background to help people to get super grounded so they can have these kind of high stakes conversations?
Well, as a kid, I started doing theater when I was actually 7 in summer stock in New York, and I was super shy. And my mother thought for some reason it would be a good idea to push me onto a stage so that I could start to gain some confidence. And it actually helped quite a lot. Although I think I'm still kind of shy, but it doesn't necessarily blend when I'm on stage. So that was the theater part of it. And as I did that, I started doing theater semi-professionally and then professionally. I've been in a theater company for 26 years now. That's an improvisational company that's not comedy improv, but something called playback theater, where we listen for the stories people tell from the audience and play it back, listening for the story under the story. So I have that sense of an ear to be able to listen, which helps me a lot when I'm working with speakers, trying to figure out what their story is and how to craft it. Because a lot of speakers, what I would find is that so many of us would tend to either be so focused on details that they would get lost in the weeds, or not enough detail so it became dry, kind of like reading a resume. And so I really was looking at what is it that people can do that will amplify both the message and also how to craft it. So the martial arts piece of it, I started doing. I grew up in New York City, where it's very nitty gritty. What you see is what you get. I'm in California now. It's much more rounded and energetic based. But I
Yes.
thought energy was something that was just kind of woo woo and out there. Of course, that's what I've been doing for the last 45 plus years, is teaching about energy. So go figure. I became my own worst fear.
Yeah.
Uh, but anyway, what I found is that when I could blend some of the energy that would be the kind of energy you would take to break through, say, a board or a bunch of bricks with your hand or with your head, to take that kind of energy and then blend that with crafting of your story of how you speak in terms of what's important for people to really to let it land, that would be something that would be useful. I had a speaker, a sister speaker, come up to me at one point and she said, I want to learn how to do what you do. So would you teach me? And I said, well, I can't teach you to be like me, but I can teach you to be like a better you.
Yeah.
And I started a program that was in 2015 for specifically for speakers and entrepreneurs delivering their message. So that's a little bit of my journey.
That's fantastic. And I love how you're bringing all these elements of your background and your really your genius to this work to help people in this very unique and special way. And I know you've got raving fans and lots of clients and things like that, people who love your work. So I was hoping that you could share just some information, some tips, some things like that that we can take so that when we either go on stage, whether it's I mean, we're starting to head back to some live events,
Yes.
knock on wood, that will continue. But
Yes.
even virtually, even in sales calls, it's important to have that grounded energy, right? Any of those high stakes conversations. So the the ripple effect of your work can go into all these different areas that we all as speakers, authors, coaches, consultants, we can use this in all these different areas.
Yes, yes, it'd be my joy to share something. First of all, I think that a lot of times people tend to, when they're feeling, particularly when it's a more high stakes type of thing, it's not just sort of their routine of say maybe what they do that they're comfortable in, but when you're stretching out of your comfort zone, which those of us
Yeah.
who are speakers and who appear on shows, we're constantly stretching, right? Is learning how to
Yes.
become comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yes.
One of the things that I find is that if you can embody a sense of self in a very specific way, that really helps. So one of the things I love to just remind people is something so simple, which I call it just standing tall, where you just, or sitting tall in this case, where you would just think about the crown of your head, the top of your head lifted up, and really ground, yes, just like that, and then grounding through your sits bones and your tailbone down to earth. When you do that, you're actually creating space between each of the vertebrae. And on a martial arts side, what that means, or on a Chinese medicine side, because I teach Qigong, which is a Chinese martial art for healing, the energy can then start to flow between the vertebrae in the spine. And what that does, I mean, obviously, good posture, that's an obvious, right? People always say, have good posture, and there's this type of thing to do, which I
Yeah,
actually love. I think that's a wonderful embodied
I do
practice.
too. I love that.
Yeah, or hands on the hips.
Yeah.
But what I really like is to have that sense of lengthening through your spine and then imagining that your clavicles, your collarbones are smiling. Because what
Mm.
that does then is it kind of opens up this energy center of the heart. And if you're somebody who's in this community, my guess is that you're coming from a pretty heart-based place in terms of the business that you do and the message that you want to land with people. So when you lengthen and spread the wings between your shoulder blades and across. So I'm talking not just about, you know, pushing your chest forward
Yeah.
or but to really have a sense of opening between the shoulder blades and across the chest, that opens up an energy field that's called Wei Qi, which is your externalized energy. It's the energy that, when you go see you're at a party and you see somebody and you go, oh, who's that person? And you're drawn to them, or you say, I don't think so. You're
Yeah.
sort of repelled.
Yeah.
That's a true energy field, and I have a lot of stories about how I've experienced that field in concrete ways. But that's an energy field that we want to project when we go out. Another tip, if I can just add one, I don't know if you had a question about any of that, but I could.
No, I love that. In fact, just sitting here like taller, like intentionally like lengthening the spine and sitting on the sits bones and thinking of the crown of the head being lifted.
Yes.
Um, it makes you feel different. It just that I'm sure that people can respond to that, right? And it helps from like not like crossing your arms like this or just sort of like having kind of like a down energy. It's more open. And I think,
I, I love that you said that, a more down energy, because one of the things that happens when we get nervous or when we feel like we're going to try to push something that we don't feel confident about is the energy rises, the heat rises, and it starts to vibrate up here. And when
okay,
that happens, we're not grounded in our message, in what it is that we want to convey. It becomes tension. So the more you can take that heat and, like you said, to ground it, to bring it down. So that's part of what that lengthening is. It allows the heat to gestate down in the what's called the lower dantian, or the bowl of your pelvis. And that heat then is a fuel that you can draw from, as opposed to something that's pulling you. So it's a sense that you're pulling up and out, as opposed to trying to, convey just from your head.
Yeah, I love that, because a lot of times we as experts, we want to get we're excited, right? We want to get this information out, and we know we can do it. And you can be excited and be grounded. And
Exactly.
that's where the power comes, right?
Exactly. The more grounded you are, the more that excitement translates into something that people can actually receive, instead of feel like they're drinking from a water hose.
I love that. I love that, Vicki. Awesome. Keep going, because this is so good.
So another thing, I think, when people start to, feel really consumed by fear, it can feel really hard to even just stand tall or open the heart. So I always like to put, and I do this when I'm doing something that feels more high stakes, I put my hands on my heart, and just remember the why. I know that all of us who work in, our own businesses, we really zero in on the why. Why do we do this? Who are we wanting to serve? And what's the reason? And so to just kind of come back to that why, and actually literally circle. So you can do this before you step in front of the camera, or you start up your computer, or you step onto a stage, is just circle. I recommend 9 times in each direction.
Okay.
And what that does is, it not only helps to stimulate that heart, and that motivation that you want to really propel you to move through the fear, right? There's a reason to move through the fear. It's not just because you want to be brave. It's because
Yeah.
you have something that is going to help people, and we need that. I think we need these heart-based, particularly women entrepreneurs, speaking their truth. I think that's the leadership of that's really being called on right now. So when we can kind of come back to that source of the heart, circle, we're also stimulating the thymus gland, which is right behind the breastbone, which is the center of your immune system. So it's a good thing to do also, just in terms of your general health. So,
Okay.
uh,
I love these. The thing is, like, these are simple, but they're very powerful. I love the simple ways, because they are so simple. They're doable, and we
yes,
can do these things. So stand
anybody.
tall. I love that, stand tall. I'm gonna definitely, and I'm a former dancer, so I'm definitely like, and I do Pilates and yoga still and all this stuff. But just, we all need these reminders, like to
Yes,
stand tall and smile here, right?
yes,
And
across your
then,
collarbone. Yes.
yes, and then nine times each way. I love it.
Yes, good, good.
I,
There's one more thing that I can just say, if people want to do a movement. You can always take that stand. I can't remember if it's hands on the hips or hands up.
it's both, like the power pose. Yeah,
Power pose.
it could be either one. I love them both.
I do too. So you can do that, which works, or you can do a little qigong exercise called Wei Qi, which I mentioned before, is that energy that you're emanating out. Um, and the movement is just very simple. You just take your arms, and it doesn't matter. I'm not going to stand up because I haven't set up my studio for this, but your hands crossed, and just bring your arms up over your head and out to the sides, right? And you can just do that 3 times around. And then, yes. And as you do it, you want to imagine that your heart is extending all the way out through the tips of your middle fingers.
Mm,
And then make a fist with your thumbs on the inside of the fist. So if you were going to punch somebody, you would want your thumb on the outside. You'd break it if it was on the inside. But this
yeah.
is a way of sort of containing and holding your sense of spirit, or that sense of essence of your message. And then just push your hands down, like you're grounding into the earth, like you're plugging
Ooh.
plug into the socket. That's actually quite a powerful thing. I think you'll find, if you do it, you can do it 3 to 9 times, I would say, or just do it once. Just do it, play with it, see what
Yeah.
works for you. Yeah,
I love it. That's so good, because it's not only just the movement, like you just get your upper body moving, but then what you're thinking about is coming from the heart, right? And going bigger with your message, and that you're grounding yourself, and that you're ready to deliver your message to a wider audience, and have it received in a way that is intended. And then just,
exactly.
I love this, Vicki. I love these things. I
So do I.
love practical things that are they just help embody our message, because we can work on the words, which is really important. we work on our target market, like, we've got to do all these things, but then really embodying the message and really thinking through these things. I mean, this
Yeah.
is a good practice, even just to start your day.
It is. It's a good one before you even just sit down to start to work on what those words are, or tweak or shift or change things. Yeah, because it's again about what is that energetic impact going to be, and how is it going to really land with people. It's again, it's I think it's the source of charisma is this Wei Qi energy. It's the source of what makes people feel like they really want to lean forward and to hear what you have to say.
Absolutely. Well, I clearly resonated with your energy on that phone call, on the meeting, and then what you said and all of that. So so right now we are all benefiting from you doing these exercises. So we need to look at our own audiences and say, how can we do that? How can we incorporate this and really spread our message out there? So thank
Yes,
you
and
for
it doesn't
sharing
have to,
the
and
tip.
I just want to just say it doesn't have to take a lot of time. I think
Yeah,
a lot of times people think like, oh, I have to do these exercises for an hour, but you can do this in 5 minutes or less. You can, I mean, I use it all the time before I step onto a stage. Some people, I have a group of students who call it, want me to teach something called bathroom qigong because they go into the bathroom when they're at work or they're about to do something, and they do their little practice so that they don't have to
yes.
be seen, and then they come out and they're like, woo.
I do that. That's so funny, Vicki, because I do that. I go into the stall and I'll do my little power pose and all that, and then
Huh?
go out and I'll be ready to do my talk. But I love having new things that just can a new way to think about it. And
Yes,
so
yes.
this is phenomenal, and I love the idea of bathroom Wei Chi. It's so good, Vicki. Where can people find more information out about you and your brilliant work?
Oh, thank you. Well, you can join my Facebook group that I actually just finished. I've just repurposed a group that I'm excited about because it's already there's a lot of engagement already. And that's facebook.com/, Energy Matters Most. So the name of the group is Energy Matters, but this Energy Matters Most is the address. Or you
Okay.
can go to my website, vickidelajoio.com. And if you're somebody who is a speaker or somebody who wants to kind of increase how you tell your story so that it lands well, you can schedule a free short call and we can just have a little bit of a talk, and I maybe can give you some tips around what the essence might be, because for some reason I have this ability to tune into the essence of what someone's story is and help them really tell it in a way that pops. So uh,
Wow.
that would be another way people could connect with me is through my website, and that's just my name.com.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, when I post this, if you could put a link to that underneath so people can see,
I,
your Facebook page and your website, that would be fantastic. So I highly recommend reaching out, contacting Vicki, just get in her circle and learn from her, because there's so much more there. There's so much more there for us to dive into, but we're going to leave it at that for today. Just a little taste of Vicki's genius. So Vicki, thank you so much for sharing this information today. So good. I know it's going to help people. So I really, really appreciate your time.
well, I love the work that you're doing, Meredith. Thank you so much for the invitation.
My pleasure. All right. We'll talk to everyone later.
All right. Bye
Bye,
bye.
everyone.